The bell rings. Hallways flood with laughter, sneakers, and unspoken rules. White students greet each other like the world's already decided they belong. Noah Ellison walks in alone. 14. Thin frame. Dark skin. Worn hoodie. New school. No welcome. Eyes follow him like he's a glitch in a hallway. Some kids whisper, he's the transfer. East side. Low scores. I heard he failed pre-algebra. He doesn't flinch. Doesn't even glance back. He's memorizing the layout. Counting doors, not people. In room 212, the math classroom, Mr. Granger stands at the board. Mid-40s. White. Clean shirt. Voice like it's always explaining something to someone beneath him. He hears the door creak open and says without turning, Ellison, back row. Let's try not to slow the rest of us down. Noah walks to the corner desk. Sits. Opens a notebook. Duct tape spine, corners curled. Pages filled to the edges with symbols, formulas, and problems nobody asked him to solve. He says nothing, but he hears everything. He's not here to answer questions. He's here to outlast the room. They don't have to say the word stupid. It's in the way they say my name, and I remember every single time. He lowers his eyes and starts writing. Ever had a teacher try to erase you without lifting a finger? Where are you reading this from right now? School work silence? Say it out loud here. You're not the only one. Noah Ellison learned early how to be invisible. Not the kind of invisibility that made people forget you existed. The kind where people saw you but never bothered to look deeper. The kind where your silence became a shield, and your stillness became mistaken for lack of substance. By 14, he'd already mastered the art passing through hallways like smoke. He knew where not to stand during passing period. He knew which bathrooms were safest. He knew which teachers looked through him, and which ones looked at him too long, like they were waiting for him to fail. He sat at the back of every class, not because he wanted to hide, but because he needed to see. Lunch was always the same. Plastic tray, milk carton, one that wasn't really yellow anymore. He'd sit alone, headphones in, eyes scanning the pages of some thick book from the used bookstore 3 blocks from his grandmother's apartment. Sometimes it was math. Sometimes it was electrical theory. Once it was the collected writings of an obscure Soviet physicist, because Noah had seen the name mentioned in a footnote and couldn't stop thinking about it until he tracked it down. He never brought up what he was reading, because no one ever asked. In Mr. Granger's math class, Noah barely spoke. It wasn't shyness. It was calculation. Mr. Granger had a particular way of teaching. His voice calm, his logic tight, his attention focused on the bright ones, the students he believed were bound for something. Those students were always white, always loud, always rewarded. When they got something right, Mr. Granger smiled like a coach watching his team win. When Noah got something right, Mr. Granger barely looked up from his desk. He'd circle the answer. Show more work, he'd write in red. Every time, Noah had stopped showing work on purpose. Because when he did, he got more notes, not on the math, but on how he explained it. Too fast. Use simple terms. Don't skip steps. It was like every answer he gave came with a warning label. Too much for someone like you. So he stopped trying to impress anyone. He did the problems, got the answers, turned them in, and left his work in his head. He didn't need their approval. He needed proof. One Monday, things changed. Mr. Granger stood at the board, halfway through a lesson on geometric proofs. Rain tapped against the windows like it wanted in. All right, he said, setting down the marker. Let's try something different. He drew a triangle, added a few markings, then turned slowly, scanning the room. His eyes stopped on Noah. Ellison, he said, voice almost cheerful. Want to show us how this one works? There was a pause in the room. Everyone turned. This wasn't normal. Mr. Granger never called on Noah, especially not for something this complex. Noah didn't move. A few students started to snicker. Come on, Granger added. Let's give you a shot. Noah stood, quietly, walked to the front, took the dry erase marker from the tray. He looked at the triangle and frowned. He turned to Mr. Granger. This diagram's incomplete. Granger's smile tightened. Then work with what you've got. The room got quieter. Phones were hidden under desks, recording. Noah turned back to the board, wrote a line, another, paused, changed direction, found a better path, then kept going. 5 minutes passed. The snickering stopped. By the time he set the marker down, the board was filled edge to edge, but neat, structured, perfect. A silence fell over the room like pressure. Mr. Granger stepped forward. Read through it. No comment. He picked up the eraser and wiped the entire thing away. Just like that. Back to your seat, he said. Let's move on. Noah walked back, sat down, didn't say a word, but in his chest, something cracked open. Not pain, not even anger, just certainty. This wasn't about being wrong. This was about being right and making the wrong person uncomfortable. That night, Noah didn't sleep. He replayed every step of the solution in his head. He didn't need to. He'd already memorized it. Still, he got up, went to his desk, opened a clean notebook, rewrote the proof. This time, he didn't stop at solving it. He broke it down into 5 different teaching methods, including a real-world example involving suspension bridges and stress angles. He printed charts from an old textbook, cut out diagrams, colored each step by logic tier. When he finished, he had a 9-page instructional guide. He stared at it for a moment, then folded it, placed it carefully into his bag. No intention, no plan, just instinct. Something was coming. The next day, Mr. Granger didn't mention what happened. In fact, he barely looked at Noah. But at lunch, when Noah sat alone, something shifted. One of the kids who had laughed, a boy named Tyler, paused at his table. "Hey," he said awkwardly, "was that like your own solution? Yesterday?" Noah looked up. "Yeah." Tyler nodded slowly. "It looked hard." "It was..." Tyler nodded again, then walked off. He didn't sit. He didn't apologize. But for the first time, he hadn't laughed. That was enough. Later that week, Noah found a note in his locker. Typed, "Anonymous. They don't want you to win. That's why you will." He read it twice, folded it, put it next to the guide in his backpack. The world hadn't changed. Mr. Granger still pretended he didn't exist. Students still forgot his name when pairing for group work. But something in Noah's mind had sharpened. This wasn't just about math anymore. This was about proof. Not the kind you write in class, the kind you live. And when the next challenge came, he wouldn't just solve it. He'd make sure they remembered who did. Noah's second month at Maplewood High was colder, not because of the weather, but because something had shifted. Invisible lines were drawn. Doors that had always been closed stayed closed. But now he noticed the locks. Group projects came and went. Noah was never picked. Instead, he was placed. Mr. Granger would assign him last, sometimes with a group that had already finished half the work, sometimes with the worst performing students in the class. The message was clear. You don't belong up there. You belong over here. Still, Noah didn't push back. Not yet. He documented everything. Every group placement. Every test grade where he lost points for not showing enough work. Every time Mr. Granger ignored his raised hand and called on someone else. He created a spreadsheet, color-coded it, tracked patterns, not because he wanted revenge, but because he believed in patterns. And this pattern wasn't random. It was designed. One afternoon, the school announced a math competition qualifier. Quietly, through a printed flyer taped to the glass of the front office. The honors students knew before it went up. Noah didn't. He only saw it because he was returning a book to the library and passed the office by accident. He scanned the flyer. Maplewood Math Invite. Top 10 students will be selected for district entry. There was a QR code to register. He scanned it. The form was closed. He went to the front desk. The receptionist, a woman with sharp red nails and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, said, "Oh, the deadline passed yesterday. Sorry." He asked why no one told the full class. She shrugged. Maybe he missed it. He hadn't. He knew. They never meant for him to apply. Noah went home and found the full district list from last year. Pulled every problem from the regional qualifiers. Solved each one. Then he modified them. Made them harder, faster, more layered. Then he solved those too. He printed them, bound them, and titled it. Alternate set for the ones they forgot to invite. He slid it into his bag. Didn't show anyone. Just kept it close. Like a secret only he was worthy of carrying. Later that week, Mr. Granger introduced a guest speaker to the class. A former Maplewood student who had gone on to win a national math award. He was white. He was loud. He was charming in the way that gets you extra credit just for breathing. During the Q&A, a student asked him what the most important trait in math was. He replied, confidence. You either walk in like you own the room, or you spend your life in the back row. Several students glanced at Noah when he said it. Mr. Granger smiled. Noah didn't flinch. Confidence wasn't loud. Confidence was knowing you could outthink everyone in the room, and choosing not to speak until it mattered. The next day, something changed. Mr. Granger announced a new challenge. He drew a problem on the board, not from a textbook, something else, harder, denser, a string of symbols that didn't look like high school math. This, he said, is one of the 5 hardest problems published in the last decade. Still unsolved. But let's have some fun. Noah, why don't you take a crack at it? The room shifted. Whispers, phones, a few surprise laughs. Noah didn't move at first. Granger pressed. You've been quiet lately. Here's your shot. Noah stood, walked to the board, picked up the marker. The problem wasn't impossible. It was layered, full of tricks meant to intimidate, not to block actual logic. He scanned it, paused, then methodically began. First, he rewrote the question, separating parts visually, then added a step most people skip. He defined the terms for clarity, not for himself, but for the room. Then he began solving, piece by piece. 10 minutes passed, then 15. The class had gone dead silent. Even Granger had stopped pacing. When Noah stepped back, the problem was done. Solution boxed, variables clean, process sound. He capped the marker, returned to his seat, didn't say a word. Mr. Granger stared at the board for a full 30 seconds, then erased it. Didn't congratulate, didn't comment, just erased it. Again, but this time someone else had seen it. At the back of the room, a substitute teacher from another department, Mr. Lin from computer science, had stepped in during his planning period to observe quietly. He stayed after class, walked over to Noah. That was real. Noah nodded. Where'd you learn to write like that? Noah paused. Nowhere. Mr. Lin stared at him for a long time, then asked for a copy of his notes. Noah handed him the alternate set packet from his backpack. Mr. Lin flipped through the first 3 pages, stopped, and pulled out his phone. That evening, Mr. Lin emailed the head of the district math team, attached a photo of Noah's board work. Another student had snapped it and shared it in a private chat. Subject line, you need to see this. He included the packet and a message. This student wasn't invited to your qualifier. That may have been your biggest mistake this year. Back at home, Noah sat by the window, notebook open, solving a problem nobody had assigned. He didn't know yet what Mr. Lin had done, didn't know who had seen his work, didn't know his name had just been spoken in a meeting full of people who never planned to speak it. He just knew one thing. Next time they tried to erase him, they'd have to do more than throw away the paper. They'd have to face the math. And the math didn't lie. Friday started like any other. First period passed. Second dragged. By the time third period rolled around, math with Mr. Granger, Noah was already locked in, calm as ever. He carried his same backpack, same notebook, same pencil sharpened to a needle. But something felt different. Not loud, just colder. He walked into the classroom and instantly knew. They were watching him differently. Whispers stopped when he passed. Heads turned quicker. Someone even moved their phone under the desk, not texting, recording. Noah took his usual seat in the back, opened his notebook, waited. Mr. Granger stood at the front like he always did, pressed shirt, sleeves rolled, smug composure. But this time there was something new on the board. A single question written in bold marker. Let's talk about plagiarism. Noah blinked. Mr. Granger didn't look at him, but his voice aimed like a laser. Recently, there's been some excitement around a certain student's solution to an advanced problem. So today, we're going to review what academic integrity looks like. The class shifted. Smirks, nervous glances. Noah said nothing. Granger continued. Because it's one thing to get the right answer. It's another to prove you're capable of getting it honestly. He turned around, wrote 3 large words: intent, method, evidence, and underlined evidence twice. Noah leaned back in his chair. He'd known this was coming. Maybe not this exact move, but something close. Mr. Granger couldn't challenge the answer, so he challenged the person who gave it. Granger assigned a pop audit. Every student had to show step-by-step work for a random equation from that week's lesson. right then and there. One girl asked, "What if we didn't save our notes?" Granger smiled. "Then maybe you shouldn't expect full credit." Then he walked straight to Noah's desk, dropped a printed sheet of paper. Not a class problem, not a review, a completely unrelated problem from a university math journal. Noah looked at it, then at Granger. This wasn't part of the week's lesson. Granger raised his eyebrows. "I thought you were gifted." For a moment, the room was silent. Everyone watched. Noah picked up his pencil. The problem was complex, built from a structure most high schoolers had never seen. It was designed not just to be difficult, but to intimidate. It was an assessment. It was a trap. Noah began writing. 10 minutes. 12. He finished. Boxed the answer. Underlined the logic path. Granger stood behind him the whole time, reading as he wrote. When Noah set the pencil down, Granger snatched the paper and walked back to the front. Held it up. "Class," he said, "you're looking at what we call an anomaly." Someone laughed. Granger's tone sharpened. No errors. No visible thinking. Just answers. Again, as if he's memorized solutions that no one's seen. He paused, which leads me to a question. Is that genius, or is that performance? Noah's jaw tensed, but he didn't speak. Granger continued. "I've submitted this and the previous solution for review to ensure academic honesty. That's protocol." He smiled again. "But in the meantime, we'll be rebalancing group placements to make sure the class dynamic is fair." That was the moment, the line. Granger hadn't just questioned Noah's mind. He declared, in front of the entire class, that Noah's intelligence didn't belong to him, and worse, that it needed to be surveilled. Over the weekend, things got worse. Someone leaked Noah's test results on a school-wide group chat, doctored it, changed the name for Noah Ellison to No Help Ellison. A photo followed, an edited image of Noah at the whiteboard, with the caption, "My dad did it for me." Oh, it spread fast, too fast. By Monday, half the school had seen it. Noah walked the halls and felt it. Eyes, stares, grins that lasted just 1 second too long. At lunch, his table was occupied. No one moved. He didn't ask. He just left. That night, Mr. Lin, the substitute from before, messaged Noah privately. A screenshot. It was an email forwarded to him by mistake from Mr. Granger. If we're not careful, this turns into a political thing. One kid can't rewrite our metrics. If this escalates, we lose control of the process. Noah stared at the screen. He wasn't angry. He was surgical. He screenshot it, saved it in his folder titled System. Tuesday, Noah stayed after class. The room emptied. Granger noticed. He leaned on his desk, arms crossed. "Something you need?" Noah stepped forward. Calm. "You said you submitted my work for review." Granger nodded. "I did." "Where?" Granger smiled. "District records." Noah didn't blink. "Which office?" Granger paused. "That's not your concern." Noah nodded. "So no one actually verified anything." Granger's smile faded. Noah opened his backpack, pulled out a printed binder. Thick, labeled, indexed. Inside, copies of every problem he'd solved, every source he cited, every logic path cross-verified with academic journals, and a time-stamped video of him solving 2 of them live. In one take, no notes. "I did your work for you," Noah said, "so you don't have to submit anything." Granger stared. "I'll be sending a copy to the superintendent too," Noah added. Granger's face twitched. Noah turned to leave, paused at the door. "You crossed the line, sir," he said quietly. "You tried to humiliate me in front of everyone, but you forgot the part where I don't lose quietly." Then he left. That evening, Noah uploaded the binder to the school system, to the regional math body, and, anonymously, to the student group chat where the memes had spread. No caption, just the truth, laid bare, unarguable. That night, the messages started. "Damn, this is real? He solved that in class?" Mr. G fumbled hard. One kid even changed the group name to No Help Ellison, we owe you one. The next morning, Granger didn't show up for class. A substitute walked in. No explanation, just a printed worksheet and the attendance sheet. Noah sat in the back, opened his notebook, started writing again, but not math. Not today. Today he started something new. Page 1. They tried to define me by silence. Now they'll have to live with what I've written. Monday morning came like it always did, slow, gray, half awake. But something had changed at Maplewood High. Word had spread, not just about the binder, or the screenshots, or the proof. That was last week's drama. This was different. This was structural. The substitute teacher who'd filled in for Mr. Granger never came back. And when students asked where Granger had gone, all they got was a single sentence from the principal during morning announcements. Mr. Granger will be on extended leave pending review of recent classroom incidents. It didn't sound like accountability, but it was the first crack. Noah heard the announcement while sitting in homeroom. Same desk, same hoodie, same silence. But his silence felt different now. Not isolated, loaded. The rest of the day moved in a strange rhythm. Teachers quieter, students cautious. Like everyone could feel a shift under their feet, but didn't know where it would land. By fourth period, Noah was called to the main office. He packed up his things slowly, walked the hallway, didn't rush. When he entered the office, there were 3 people waiting for him. Principal Henderson, tall, exhausted, always talking like he was half a step behind the news. Miss Thomas, head of student services, calm, composed, eyes always watching for damage control. And someone new, a woman in a gray blazer, with a badge clipped to her lapel, Dr. Rice, District Academic Ethics Coordinator. Noah sat down. Nobody spoke for a moment. Then Principal Henderson cleared his throat. "Noah," he said, "we've reviewed the material you submitted last week." Noah nodded. "We also received corroborating accounts from multiple teachers." Pause. He looked at Dr. Rice. She stepped forward. "Noah, I want you to know something very clearly. What happened in your classroom should never have happened. Not the challenge, not the accusations, and certainly not the treatment you experienced after." Noah stayed silent. He'd learned a long time ago that people in power sometimes apologized to maintain order. Not because they meant it. She continued, "I read your binder. All of it. And I don't say this lightly. Your mathematical reasoning is graduate level. Your instructional breakdowns? They could be published." Noah blinked, not out of shock, just because no one had ever said it out loud before. She sat down beside him. "We'd like to fast-track you into the district's independent academic mentorship program. You'd have access to university-level coursework, a dedicated advisor, and..." She paused. "You'd also be removed from general classes permanently." Noah narrowed his eyes. "What happens to my grades now?" Miss Thomas answered that one. "We're adjusting your transcript to reflect advanced proficiency in all math-related coursework, retroactively." "And Mr. Granger?" Noah asked quietly. Dr. Rice sighed. "There's an active investigation beyond the school. It's not just about you anymore." Other students spoke up. Noah nodded slowly. "And what about the kids who laughed? The ones who shared the meme?" The room went quiet. Principal Henderson shifted uncomfortably. "They're being counseled." Noah looked at each of them. "Calm, controlled. People like me don't get to get even," he said. "So I'm not trying." He stood up. "But I'll take the coursework." That night, he told his grandmother. They sat at the kitchen table, steam rising from 2 mugs of tea. She listened, didn't interrupt, just nodded slowly. When he finished, she looked him in the eyes and said, "I'm proud of you." Noah blinked again. That was the first time anyone had said that, too. The next day, Noah walked into a building he'd never been in before, the back annex of the school library. A locked door normally marked staff only, now open for him. Inside, a room with just 6 desks, 1 computer, and a wall covered in white boards. Waiting for him was a man in his mid-30s, South Asian, wire-rimmed glasses, polite smile. "Dr. Patel," he said, extending a hand. "Mathematics, University of Illinois. I'll be your mentor from here on out." Noah shook his hand. No hesitation, no fear, just precision. Their first session lasted 3 hours. By the end, Dr. Patel had stopped teaching and started watching. He handed Noah a fresh set of materials, a mix of topology, number theory, and advanced logic puzzles. College seniors usually struggled with them. Noah solved 3 before lunch. When Dr. Patel asked him how he learned to think that way, Noah shrugged. "I never learned how not to." Meanwhile, outside the room, word spread again, not through group chats or hallway whispers, through silence. When someone walked past Noah now, they looked. but not the same way. Some nodded, some said nothing, but gave him space. Some whispered his name like it had gravity. In English class, the teacher asked the room, "What defines a legacy?" A student in the front row raised her hand, something people remember when the system forgets you. Several heads turned to look at Noah. He didn't lift his eyes, just underlined a sentence in his book and kept reading. That weekend, Dr. Patel emailed him a link. This year's Regional Olympiad is still open for nomination. I've already submitted your name. I also included a letter of endorsement. But I suspect your work speaks louder than anything I could write. Noah stared at the screen, didn't smile, didn't cheer, just breathed, clicked the link, and registered. 2 days later, a reporter from the local newspaper requested an interview. Noah declined. 3 podcast invites. Declined. A local teachers union reached out to say thank you. He didn't reply. He didn't want a spotlight. He wanted a seat at the table. And now, he had one. On Friday, Noah walked past room 212, Mr. Granger's old classroom. The door was open. A new teacher was writing names on the board. Inside, the students looked lighter. Some glanced at him, but none of them laughed. Noah kept walking, turned the corner, and disappeared into the annex again, where the board was clean, and his name wasn't erased. It was a Tuesday when the email arrived. Not from the school, not from Dr. Patel. It came from an anonymous address. Noah.evidence.archive@protonmail.com. Subject line, he's still talking. There was no message body, just a single video attachment. Noah stared at it for a full minute before opening it. The footage was grainy. Phone recorded in a dimly lit cafe 2 blocks from the school. The audio was uneven, but the voice was unmistakable. Mr. Granger. He was seated across from a man Noah didn't recognize, maybe someone from the district, maybe just a friend. The camera shook a little, like whoever was holding it was nervous. But Granger's words came through clearly. He's not special, just trained, probably fed stuff at home. That kind of overperformance always comes with strings. Mark my words, give it 6 months. He'll plateau. They always do. The other man laughed. Granger leaned back. I just did what teachers are supposed to do, check the work. You start giving kids like him free passes. Next thing you know, they'll expect scholarships for breathing. The file ended. Noah didn't blink. He didn't even feel angry. He felt clean, because now there was no more pretending. That night, he sent the video to Dr. Rice. Subject line, I thought the review was over. No message. An hour later, she responded, we'll speak in the morning. You're not alone in this. He didn't reply. He opened his notebook instead, wrote a single sentence. When you deny someone their truth, all you do is delay its arrival. Then he underlined it twice. The next morning, he didn't go to the annex. He walked straight into the main building, asked to speak with the superintendent's liaison, a woman named Ms. Chavez, who'd been brought in quietly 2 weeks prior to handle the fallout. When she came out to meet him, she looked ready, not defensive, not dismissive, just alert. They sat in a small conference room beside the counselor's office. Noah placed a printed transcript of the recording on the table, along with a full summary of Mr. Granger's in-class behavior, disciplinary trends, and student demographic breakdowns, all pulled from public records. Noah had built a case. Clean, documented, undeniable. He didn't cry, didn't raise his voice, just said, you wanted accountability. This is it. Ms. Chavez reviewed it quietly. She didn't ask questions. When she finished, she looked up. Are you prepared for this to go public? Noah met her eyes. It already is. That same afternoon, a meeting was called. Small, internal, closed door. But Noah was invited to speak. Across from him, 2 board members, Ms. Chavez, a legal advisor, and a representative from the teachers' union. They gave him 10 minutes. He used 5. He didn't recount the insults or the viral jokes or the days he spent erasing his own existence. He showed the board what he'd built, his solutions, his binder, his tracking spreadsheet, the evidence, the systems. Then he said, you don't have to like me, but you will not ignore me. No one interrupted, not because they agreed, because they couldn't disprove a word. That evening, the district sent an official letter to the media. An investigation into conduct violations has been reopened regarding former educator Daniel Granger. While the matter remains confidential, we affirm our commitment to equity, transparency, and restorative accountability. The headline dropped an hour later. Student targeted by teachers, racist remarks pushes for formal review. Noah's name wasn't in it, but the photo showed a glimpse of the annex, his whiteboard visible in the background. People online started digging, started connecting dots. The video leaked. The story exploded. By Friday, Mr. Granger's name was trending. Former students came forward. Stories piled up. He used to tell us inner-city kids can't do calculus. He said math isn't for people who struggle with English. He failed me for attitude. I got an A in college later. Even a former TA posted a thread. He made me change scores, said the distribution curve needed to reflect reality. I quit 2 months later. It couldn't be contained anymore. Noah didn't celebrate. He just kept showing up to the annex, solving proofs, drafting new models. But he could feel it. The air had shifted again. Only this time it wasn't hostile. It was reverent. The district offered him the chance to speak at the next board meeting. Open mic. Dr. Patel advised caution. You don't owe them your labor, he said. Noah nodded, but he showed up anyway. He waited his turn, took the podium, looked at the crowd, parents, students, teachers, cameras, then said, "This isn't about a teacher. This is about every room where brilliance walks in and gets told to sit in the back. This is about every time you made us prove our humanity before you let us speak. I didn't fight for a grade. I fought for the right to be the answer, without being treated like the mistake." Then he stepped down, didn't wait for applause, didn't need it. That weekend, Noah visited the cafe where the recording had been made, ordered hot tea, sat near the back, same table, opened his notebook, started a new page. Chapter title: The Structure of Silence. For a week, everything felt like it was settling. Not quiet, not resolved, but steady. Mr. Granger had disappeared from public sight. The district's investigation was expanding. More students came forward. A small protest formed outside the school gates. Some teachers even held office hours to reflect on classroom equity. Words like restorative justice and policy overhaul started appearing in emails. It looked like the system had heard the message. But Noah knew better. Systems don't surrender. They reconfigure. It started with the article. One morning, Noah's name appeared in a local editorial. Not the main paper. A smaller publication. Older readership, quieter influence, but connected. The headline read, "Are we rewarding outliers or undermining educators?" It didn't mention Mr. Granger directly, but it talked about anonymous accusations, social media hysteria, and the risk of undermining veteran teachers over a few weeks of sensationalized classroom tension. Then came a quote, "We must be careful not to let giftedness be confused with arrogance, or let viral outrage become a substitute for context." Noah stared at the screen. He knew exactly who had written it, or at least who had fed it, because nobody uses the word arrogance when describing a white prodigy. But when a black student speaks, clearly, they call it attitude. That same week, the university that had accepted Noah into the mentorship program received a complaint. A letter and signed, questioning Noah's academic integrity, claimed his solutions were suspiciously optimized, that they matched obscure solutions found in math archives only accessible through paid networks. The university flagged it, temporarily paused his access, not revoked, just paused, which was enough to stall his progress, enough to rattle the flow he'd built. He received an email from the dean. "We're sure this is a misunderstanding, but as a matter of protocol, we need to verify the originality of your recent work." He forwarded it to Dr. Patel, who replied in under 10 minutes. "They're testing you, not the math. Stand by. I've got this." Still, Noah couldn't help but feel it, the shift. From validation to scrutiny, from respect to suspicion. He wasn't being accused, but he wasn't being believed either. Then came the message from a blocked number. Just one sentence. "You were nothing before this. You'll be nothing again." Noah didn't react, didn't flinch, just saved the message. Screenshot, filed, logged. He had a folder for this now. That weekend, an anonymous Reddit thread appeared. Title: "The kid Who ruined our teacher's life? The truth about Noah, the genius. It listed rumors. It claimed he had been coached by a parent, that his grandmother was secretly a retired math professor. It claimed he'd had behavioral issues at his previous school. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. In digital mud, truth doesn't move fast enough. The thread gained traction. Comments came in. Can't trust anything anymore. Seems fake. Bet he cheated. Noah didn't respond, didn't post, but he read every word, not to internalize them, to catalog them, because this wasn't a backlash. It was a counterstrike. Monday morning, the door to the annex was locked. A printed sign, under scheduled review. Please check in with the main office. No explanation. Noah asked at the front desk. The secretary looked uncomfortable, said there was a facilities request. Might be a few days. Noah nodded, didn't argue. He walked outside, sat on the bench near the flagpole, and pulled out his notebook. Started solving anyway. Dr. Patel found him an hour later, sat beside him, said nothing for a long time. Then, I know what this is. I've seen it before. When you push a system too far off its script, it doesn't correct itself. It retaliates. Noah kept writing. They think if they slow you down, they win. He looked up. So what do we do? Dr. Patel smiled faintly. We do the math. By that evening, they'd recreated Noah's workspace in the university library. New login credentials, private network, independent evaluator. The university hadn't pulled back. They'd paused to cover themselves. But when Dr. Patel submitted a real-time video of Noah solving a topological optimization in under 11 minutes, while explaining every step out loud, they reinstated everything within the hour. Still, the damage had been done, and Granger's allies, silent at first, were beginning to whisper. In private staff chats, in local forums, in district emails disguised as policy concern memos. The whispers said, "We need to talk about the chain of command. This precedent is dangerous." Are we opening the floodgates? Noah saw it all, through screenshots, through leaks, through receipts. Because once people know how to ignore you, they forget you can hear them, too. Then came the interview request, a national education podcast. Not gossip, not viral clickbait, a serious platform. The host was a black woman who had once been the only girl in her advanced physics class. She emailed Noah personally. Subject line, "They've spoken about you. I'd like to let you speak for yourself." Noah didn't reply right away. He sat with it for a whole day, then said yes. They recorded in a small studio across town. Noah didn't prepare a speech. He didn't need one. The host asked him to walk her through everything, from the first week of school to the annex being shut down. And he did. Slow, measured, unapologetic. She asked, "What do you want to say to the people who doubt you now?" He answered, "I didn't do this for them. I did it so the next kid wouldn't have to fight the same war just to solve a problem." When the episode dropped, it spread fast. Not viral, but vital. Teachers shared it. Parents shared it. Students shared it. People who'd never said Noah's name before began quoting his words. And slowly, the thread of narrative began to unravel. He wasn't the angry genius. He was the evidence. And the system was the mistake. 2 weeks after the podcast aired, the silence broke. Not from the school, not from Noah, from the janitor. Mr. Alvarez had been working at Maplewood for 11 years. Quiet man, didn't talk much. Most students never asked his name. Teachers said hello in passing, rarely more. But Mr. Alvarez had seen everything. Who lingered after class, who erased the board, who was sent out for no reason, who came in late but never got written up. He had seen Mr. Granger throw away a stack of papers one afternoon, papers with Noah's name on them. He had seen Noah stay late on Fridays, scribbling in silence on the back row. He had seen how often the trash held notebooks that weren't garbage. So when the district announced the investigation had been paused due to insufficient first-hand testimony, Mr. Alvarez spoke. He contacted Ms. Chavez, asked to make a statement, brought receipts, literally 3 assignment printouts, pulled from the recycling bin, all ungraded, all marked with high-level solutions, all dated before the public incident. One of them still had Mr. Granger's coffee ring on it. The school tried to brush it off. Clerical mistake. But by then it was too late. The janitor's story hit a nerve, because it wasn't just about a student and a teacher anymore. It was about who gets believed and who gets erased. Then came the real shock. A woman named Rebecca Granger, Daniel Granger's niece, posted a public statement on LinkedIn. She was a software engineer in San Francisco. She didn't live in the state, but she'd watched the headlines closely. In her post, she wrote, "My uncle always believed he was the smartest man in the room, but smart men don't erase brilliance to feel safe. I grew up watching him talk over my mother, mock my cousins, and call anything unfamiliar a threat. I don't know what he did to that student, but I believe the student, because I know what my uncle looks like when no one's watching." The post went viral. Screenshots flooded Instagram. TikTok stitched it into breakdowns. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a math teacher. It was about a culture, about gatekeeping brilliance. Noah didn't say much during that time. He kept studying. He stayed in the annex, which had reopened after the university vouched for him again and offered a temporary scholarship to continue coursework uninterrupted. But everywhere he went, the air changed. People nodded. Not pity, not guilt, recognition. One day during a routine district meeting, Dr. Rice was approached by a former Maplewood guidance counselor. The woman handed her a sealed envelope. Inside, a copy of Noah's transfer evaluation from his previous school, the one Mr. Granger claimed had behavioral concerns. The notes were glowing, quiet but gifted, processes material faster than any student we've ever evaluated. May need specialized support to avoid understimulation. Extremely respectful. But the version in Maplewood's file? Redacted. The behavioral box checked inconclusive. The academic notes trimmed. A completely different document. Forged. By who? They didn't need to guess. Dr. Rice confronted Principal Henderson. His hand shook. He admitted that Mr. Granger had adjusted certain files for consistency. The word consistency echoed like a slap. Within 48 hours, the district called an emergency board session. Henderson was placed on leave. Ms. Chavez promoted temporarily. The district announced a policy audit, starting with every school's student placement and file access system. The press picked up, not scandal anymore, pattern. But the biggest surprise came quietly. At the end of a Tuesday, Noah received a call from an unknown number. He didn't answer. It went to voicemail. The voice was deep, careful. "Mr. Ellison, my name is Dr. Julian Carter. I'm a senior advisor for the National STEM Equity Initiative. We've been following your story. Quietly, respectfully, we'd like to speak with you about a national youth panel forming this fall. It's focused on redesigning advanced placement access. You'd be the youngest contributor, but arguably the most qualified. Let us know if you're open to it." Noah saved the message. Didn't play it for anyone. Didn't need to. He knew what it meant. They weren't just listening now. They were asking. He told Dr. Patel the next morning. The man nearly spilled his coffee. "National? That's legacy level, Noah." Noah nodded. Then, "If I say yes, it's not to speak for them. It's to make sure they hear us." Dr. Patel smiled. "Exactly. At school, they changed the name of a policy document, where it used to say, Exceptional Student Cases. It now read, Accelerated Access Framework, Ellison Model." They didn't ask him. They just did it. The superintendent called it a symbolic gesture. But Noah didn't care about symbols. He cared about structure. He cared that they couldn't forget his name, even if they tried. He still kept his routines, still solved problems after school, still wrote in his notebook. But the tone changed. The questions got harder. His notes got neater. His margins started to carry phrases like, "Rebuild from the bottom up. Teach them how to see us." The proof isn't enough. The system must show its work too. Noah wasn't just building solutions now. He was designing systems, blueprints, not just for classrooms, but for correction, for memory, for survival that didn't feel like silence anymore. It didn't happen all at once. Systems don't fall like towers. They splinter like glass. One crack, then another, until the surface can't pretend to be whole anymore. It began with a press release. Due to ongoing concerns and documentation submitted by multiple parties, Daniel Granger has been permanently removed from the district's approved educator list. It was one sentence. But inside that sentence was a reckoning. It meant no reinstatement, no pension, no appeal. His file would be flagged in national databases. Other schools would know forever. The news didn't break with fireworks. It spread like a hush, first through group chats, then staff meetings, then board updates. At Maplewood, students walked into math class and saw a new name on the board. Ms. Halim, young, soft-spoken, Palestinian-American, first gen, grew up in a district just like theirs. Noah met her after school. She didn't introduce herself with a handshake. She said, "I read about you." Then she added, "You're why I took this job." Meanwhile, Ms. Chavez, now interim principal, released a memo. It was short, blunt, unapologetic. "We failed one of our students." That's not speculation. That's a documented fact. Moving forward, Maplewood will establish an annual audit of classroom equity, led by a student review panel. The student panel had 5 members. One of them was Noah. He didn't volunteer. He was nominated by a vote, unanimous. Then came the settlements. 3 former students, 2 girls, 1 boy, filed formal complaints against Mr. Granger and the school board. Discrimination, emotional harm, manipulation of grades. The district didn't fight it. They offered settlements before it reached court. 6 figures each, paid from a professional misconduct liability fund no one had publicly acknowledged existed. Suddenly, parents started asking, "How long has this been going on? Who else was affected?" About the other teachers? Who knew? 2 long-retired teachers came forward in a joint letter, published in the city's Sunday paper. "We were told again and again not to cause trouble, not to make accusations we couldn't prove." But the truth was there in how students of color were shifted into lower tracks, how test scores got lost, how enthusiasm was mistaken for disruption. Noah Ellison didn't just expose a man. He exposed an architecture. That word stuck. Architecture. It wasn't just about bias. It was about design. And design meant responsibility. The school board president resigned, said it was the right time. The PTA chair stepped down, said she wanted to reflect. Both had previously called the incident overblown. They didn't hold press conferences. They just left. At the state level, an education subcommittee began drafting new guidelines for transparency in teacher evaluations. They called it the Ellison Recommendation. Noah found out through a Google alert. He read the proposal 3 times, then closed the tab. He didn't need to see his name in print. He needed to see the numbers change. And they did. Within 3 months, 3 new STEM scholarships created at the state level for underrepresented students. One specifically designated for Maplewood district applicants. Applications spiked, especially from students who had previously self-selected out. They cited Noah in their essays. They didn't ask for his permission. They didn't need to. They knew. Meanwhile, Granger resurfaced online under a fake name, started commenting on posts about cancel culture, left a review on a teaching forum calling himself a victim of reverse discrimination. It got flagged and removed, but screenshots lived on. By the time anyone from the district saw it, his attempt at reinvention had collapsed. No schools would touch him. No unions would back him. His LinkedIn went blank. His name was no longer a resume. It was a case study. Back at Maplewood, students painted a mural in the annex, not of Noah, of the whiteboard. No equations, just a quote he'd written 3 months ago, after the first public confrontation. "I didn't lose control. I wrote everything down." Below it, students left messages in Sharpie. "Because of you, I stayed in the class. My brother says thank you. They told me to be quiet. You made me loud." One day, Ms. Halim pulled Noah aside. She handed him a folded piece of paper. No title, no sender. Inside was a single sentence. "When he erased your board, he tried to erase your future. Thank you for rewriting it." Noah didn't ask who sent it. Didn't need to. He still studied every day. Still wrote in the same notebook. But the margins were different now. No more survival notes. Just systems, ideas, policy flowcharts. He began mapping how schools could track equity in real time. How they could audit grade distribution across race and socioeconomic status. How they could build protections for students before they needed to fight back. He didn't call it reform. He called it repair. Then, quietly, he started getting emails from other students, other states, other countries. They put me in remedial even though I aced the placement test. Can I show them your story? I was told I'm not math-minded. I am. Thank you. They won't believe me, but they believed you. He replied to everyone, sometimes with just one sentence. Write everything down. The system had changed. Forms updated. Policies renamed. Staff reshuffled. It all looked clean, public-facing, polished proper. But change, real change, doesn't live in memos. It shows up in whispers, in eye contact, in who chooses to speak, and who can finally listen. And now the ones who never looked at Noah were the ones who couldn't look away. It started with a voice behind him. Locker hallway, late afternoon, empty enough to feel private. Noah? He turned. It was Tyler, one of the first students to laugh when Mr. Granger called him to the board months ago. The one who posted the first meme. He looked smaller now, not physically, but like something had collapsed inward. Tyler fumbled, eyes darting. I didn't know how to say it before, but I was wrong. Noah said nothing. Tyler rubbed the back of his neck. I thought you were trying to make the rest of us look bad. I didn't get it. I didn't get you. Still, Noah said nothing. Tyler tried again. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just thought you should hear it from me. I was a coward. Finally, Noah spoke. Softly. I know. Tyler blinked, caught off guard, then nodded, and walked away. Noah didn't stop him, because some truths don't need to echo. A few days later, a teacher from another department approached him during lunch. Ms. Lee, the drama instructor. She hadn't been part of the conflict. She hadn't said anything, one way or the other, but she'd seen it. She sat across from Noah without asking for permission. I watched everything happen, she said. I stayed quiet. I told myself it wasn't my place. But the truth is, silence was a choice. Noah looked at her. She didn't cry, didn't beg, just offered what most people couldn't. Accountability without defense. I'm sorry, she said. You deserved more than witnesses. Noah gave a small nod. Ms. Lee stood. Thank you for not disappearing. He didn't answer, but the silence between them felt cleaner this time. Even his old guidance counselor, Mr. Dawes, who had once told him to stay realistic, asked for a meeting. They sat across from each other in his office. It smelled like stale coffee and nervous guilt. I told you this place would never give you a fair shot, Dawes said. And I said it like it was advice, like I was protecting you. He looked down, but I wasn't. I was giving up on you before anyone else could. Noah looked at the window. Outside, freshmen ran across the quad. They listened to me now, he said, but they didn't learn. They just got scared. Mr. Dawes nodded slowly. I did too. Noah stood. Then say that to the next student before they have to become me. But not all reckonings were confessions. Some came quietly, through gestures. A student left a folded note on his desk. They told me I wasn't honors material, but you made me believe I might be. No name, no return address. One morning, a freshman walked up to him after class. Small kid, glasses, nervous. Are you Noah? Noah nodded. I'm in Ms. Halim's class now. She showed us one of your solutions, the one with the bridge tension example. He held up a notebook, the diagram redrawn with notes in the margins. I didn't know math could feel like something, like music. Noah smiled, a real one. Yeah, he said. It does that sometimes. The kid looked at him like he'd just met someone off the pages of a history book, then walked away. Noah watched him go. For the first time in a long time, the hallway didn't feel like a gauntlet. It felt like ground he'd helped level. At home, his grandmother lit a candle one night. She didn't say why, just placed it on the table during dinner. They ate in quiet, but as she cleared the dishes, she paused. You know I prayed for you, she said, but I didn't pray for safety. Noah looked up. She smiled. I prayed you stay seen. He blinked once, hard, then nodded. Dr. Patel called him later that week, said another district wanted to speak with him, not for testimony, for insight. They were designing a new math curriculum with student feedback. Noah asked if they were serious or just saving face. Patel chuckled. They're scared of becoming the next headline, but they're listening. Noah agreed to review the proposal. He marked the pages that mattered. then wrote a note at the end. If this is about prevention, build policy. If this is about power, build seats. But if this is about healing, start by believing the next kid the first time. Not all messages were big. Some were just overdue. An old classmate met him late one night. I didn't say anything before. I'm sorry, he replied. Then say something next time. Noah didn't forget what they did to him. He didn't forgive it either. But he'd started to understand something deeper. They didn't want to break him. They wanted to break what he represented. The idea that a kid like him, quiet, sharp from the background, could rewrite the rules without asking permission. And now, they couldn't unsee it, couldn't unlearn it, couldn't erase him. He wasn't a mistake in their system. He was proof it had always been broken. Noah Ellison returned to room 212 on the last day of the school year. The classroom was empty. Summer light filtered through the blinds in thin gold lines. The air smelled like old textbooks and quiet regret. The desks were rearranged. The posters were new. Ms. Halim had brought color, energy, hope. But Noah wasn't here for celebration. He was here to say goodbye, not to people, but to the place where it had started. The place where someone had tried to shrink him into silence and failed. He walked to the board, picked up a dry erase marker, wrote a single sentence. Systems only change when the silence breaks first. Then he capped the marker and left. Outside, the school buzzed with end-of-year energy. Students posed for selfies. Teachers gave out awkward high fives. Backpacks were lighter, voices louder.